as soon as you have the right questions to ask, you are halfway done with the testing. Collaboration between QA and product, it's really a good thing. In my career, I have seen many more people becoming product owners or product managers from their QA career track rather than becoming developers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to HackCast. This is season 4, episode number 9. We are at our studio in our Hacksoft office, and HackCast is the official podcast of Hacksoft, where we try to show how we do IT, how we do software business, how we do startups in the Balkans, covering various topics that are either technical or, of course, also non-technical, talking about the business side of things. Today here we have a very, very special guest who's also a PhD. We're going to tell you PhD in what in just a second, but I will give Ivo the pleasure to announce Petar. Pesho.
Petar, also known as Pesho in Bulgarian. We have Peter Sabev here, the CEO of Webbicus and the Director of Engineering at Pliant, also a PhD at Software Test Automation. Pesho, please introduce yourself.
Hi. First of all, Ivo and Trado, I'm really glad that you invited me.
And we're glad that you came.
Absolutely.
I did. Actually, you have one more fan of HackCast. I have watched many of the episodes, and
Nice.
with every single one, I became more and more interested. So I think currently I'm a little bit addicted.
All right, that's good.
Let's see how it goes after this one.
Tell us a little bit about your experience, where
All
you
right.
come from, and yeah.
I have been in computers since I was 8.
All right.
There was an old computer which I was able to use when my parents went to party with university students, and they had Pravets 8C.
All
I
right.
don't know if you know it, but
Nope.
there was a game called Karateka.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really keen on that game. Actually, I wanted to create my own game one day,
Okay.
and that is how I started with informatics 8 years old. There was a book called Аз програмирам на 9 години. In English, I'm programming at 9 years old. Really interesting one. So that is how I started with BASIC. First, I
And a
just...
very specific one.
yeah. First, just I read from the books the code and copied on the computer and saw what happens. Later on, I read some other programming books, started courses, and that is how I ended in the national programming team for high school students.
All right.
I also had a bronze medal on the Balkan Olympiad in
Nice.
informatics. Participated in the International Olympiad in informatics in Beijing, China, and in the university I also continued with the programming contests, and they give you really a good aspect of algorithms and using memory efficiently, using CPU power, things like that.
Which university is that?
It was Plovdiv University, FMI. There I created the group called Fatal Mental Irregularities. Maybe you remember 2 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte, the song.
I still chant this song from time to time to my wife, and she's really confused.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
It's baked into my mind. It's a really good one.
Yeah. So later on, I started as a programmer in one of the big companies here in Sofia. And actually, the boss, after a month of work, came to me and said, we have a very, very promising customer, but they need a QA engineer. We don't have anyone available as a QA engineer. would you like to start? And I asked, what is QA engineer?
All right. That's a good question.
So he tried to explain me in short. I liked it. And for the past 20 years, this is basically what I have been doing. I have been also a programmer, PM, developer, technical writer. Currently, I'm director of engineering in
All right.
Poland. But yeah, most of my life and my career, I have been into the quality assurance profession. And on the top of that, I have started a conference, and this year it is the 10th edition of QA Challenge Accepted.
All right.
So this is 28th of September, 29th is Dev Challenge Accepted, 28th is QA Challenge Accepted, and you both are invited.
That's 2024 for
Yes,
And we are coming.
for those that hear us in the
There
next
was a very catchy
decades.
song from the last QA Challenge
Challenge
Accepted that
accepted.
everyone was
challenge
singing.
accepted.
Yeah, really good.
Very good.
Yeah, the conference is absolutely awesome. We've been going for the last 3 years, I think, with our QA team, and absolutely awesome. A lot of quality content there, so definitely recommend it.
Thanks.
So, what do you do nowadays as a director of engineering?
Okay, in my company, we are doing lots of automation and integration, and we make systems that do not usually talk to each other.
Okay.
What am I doing? I'm responsible for the entire engineering in Bulgaria, which includes front-end teams, back-end teams, QA engineers. We have also one DevOps guy, and we also have integrations teams that are basically back-end engineer but dedicated to integrating with third parties.
All right. All right. So, should we dive straight to the topic and try to explain what is actually the quality assurance profession? What is that? What are the QAs doing?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And a nuance that's so while Pesho was telling his story, his backstory is as if he's a really good software engineer doing software engineering by standards. But then he said, I was asked if I want to be a QA engineer, and then I accepted, and I became a QA engineer. And I think there is a lot of value if we, as we dive into the quality assurance topic, we unpack this as well, because at least in Bulgaria, the quality assurance profession has a certain, how to say, oh, that's easy, that's your entry, you are less than the software engineers. There's those notions exist, and we all know them, and I think those notions are completely misguided, quite wrong. And that's why I think Pesho is a very, very good guest to have to talk about QA and quality assurance and quality engineering, because it's a really interesting profession and it covers way more things than what software engineering covers. So let's dive into this topic, and I just wanted to give this frame and nuance about what at least I'm going to ask as follow-up questions.
I can completely agree with you. I bet that, like, if you ask 10 out of 10 the software developers, hey, for the next couple of months you need to step in a QA role and do the quality assurance part of the project, like almost all of them would be kind of disappointed, and they wouldn't necessarily want to jump in this role. And you, however, decide to jump in and actually stay there. So this is going to be really interesting.
This is actually what we have recently done, having all the developers doing QA, and it was quite effective for both sides. But yeah, there were lots of questions.
Yeah.
First things first, what
Okay.
is QA? And Rado, I have not forgotten, we'll reach that
Oh, yeah.
topic as well.
I will not forget as well. So let's get there.
Cool. Okay. What QA is it has definitions according to ISTQB. For those that haven't heard of ISTQB, this is International Software Testing Quality Board, and maybe the most official body in the QA world. They have some certificates and things like that. They organize different events, but the worldwide standard for certification in QA is ISTQB. So they said that the quality assurance is a process. It is, I want to underline that it is not a person, not testing. It is a process, and it consists basically of exercising and executing software and all of the deliverables together with the software with three purposes. This is to make sure that the software is corresponding to the requirements.
Alright.
It is also to make sure that it is fit for purpose, and of course to find defects or errors. So that is the official definition, but I would say it's a little bit boring one, isn't it?
Yes.
A little.
What I would like to give you is an example. Let's say cakes. I really like my grandma's cake,
Alright.
and it is according to a very specific recipe. So if we say we have to test the cake of my grandmother, we first of all have to make sure that all the ingredients are there. They're in their proper quantities. The taste is the same, and at the same time we should be sure that none of the ingredients has expired. All the
Steps are followed.
steps are
Of
followed
course, yeah.
exactly. Also, for instance, if you have explicitly asked that there shouldn't be raisins, for instance, we need to check every piece of cake that you are going to consume that there are no raisins. If you are allergic to nuts, we have to make sure that either we don't put any nuts or nuts remains on any of the utensils we have used to prepare the cake, or inform you appropriately that there could be any nuts remaining. So the profession, more or less, is following exact rules, specifications, and making sure that the things work like that. And this is on one hand. On the other hand, I will give you another example.
All right.
And I really like the Sherlock Holmes example. So usually you treat the software as a crime scene, and yeah, things might be looking total mess. They might be like, let's say, everything is okay, but the important part is this is a crime scene. There is a murderer, and you have to find it. So more or less, you are in the detective role. You have to check everything and see what's not exactly okay. Although, in general, things are looking okay.
Nice. So that's a new information to me. The QA is a process. It's not a person. It's not a team. It's not a role. It is a process.
And a lot of folks are engaged in this process. And yeah, so I quite usually have this conversation with folks that work as QAs here at HackSoft. And sometimes we work on projects that you feel like you need a QA because usually things are quite chaotic, and we don't have enough time to make sure everything that we're delivering is actually works as expected. And then when we bring a QA, usually the first question that they ask, and I'm not sure how to respond to that, because I don't think this is the most like the first requirement that you need. The first question that we ask is, what are the requirements? Give me the specifications. And what we usually say is, there are none. You have to figure them out. And this is the very first clash that we had with all of our QAs working here at HackSoft, because the way that we work with clients, we are their development partners. We're not just like an outsourcing agency where we throw code, but we work very closely with clients, with product, with the business. And sometimes when you step in as a quality assurance person trying to establish a quality assurance process, there are certain mindsets, and the first definition that you gave is requirements, purpose, defects. And I think this is where most of the folks stop. They hear requirements, they see there are no requirements, and they stop there and they say, I cannot do my job. So I would like to get your opinion on that.
All right. I know where this comes from.
Mm.
It is ISTQB again, because people have been taught by ISTQB from the good old times where waterfall was implemented in most of the companies. There were those heavyweight methodologies where you have really a pile of documentation, and you have everything that needs to be specified, written, signed off, and it is a good thing, and it is still applied in many safety critical systems such as hospitals, airports, nuclear plants, and so on. But in the big companies, it might work if you have, let's say, 5-year product cycle.
Yeah.
I have been working in companies with 10,000 plus and companies with one person.
Mm.
And for the smaller companies, it is just not fast enough. Yeah, you don't have the time for the requirements. Usually, this is what has been decided during the Scrum meetings, grooming, and so on. And a good lightweight version of those specification is actually the so-called acceptance criteria or definition of done.
Yeah.
So if you are working on Scrum, on each story, just have several bullets that define what should be tested as part of the story, and this is most of the cases absolutely enough if you have the common sense. Also, test Oracle, it can be the specifications, but it can be also a similar software, including earlier version of your own software. So if you have accepted that up to now the software should work like that, and you are delivering the new version, many of the things you can use as Oracle and compare just to the previous version of your software. Or you can use the competition. If the competition does something in a particular way, or most of the people do it, usually this is the right thing to do. And as an example, I can give you a login form. If you have to test a login form, you don't need to have exact specifications. You usually know that it is either username or email. Then you have the password, you have the sign-in button, you have, let's say, the forgotten password link, and things like that. But in general, you have that common sense requirements. So from the QA perspective, do you have to have requirements, and can you test without the requirements? Of course you can, but it's like a treasure hunt without a map. So you can dig somewhere and find something completely different, but if you have a map, if you have that point of the map, then your testing gets a purpose. And that purpose is what usually you have to start your testing session with in order to test a particular thing.
Speaking from my experience, this phrase, like, I don't have requirements, I can't really test it, is something defensive for more junior people. In order to be sure that they don't make mistakes, they need like explicit requirements to be way more safe. And for more senior people, they are way more proactive. They try to speak with different product owners or team leads or people that know how this is going to work, and they start putting the requirements together by their own, so that from these requirements they can first keep a document up to date, ensuring that they know how this is supposed to work, check the code sometimes to check on some details, and then start executing or writing tests based on the requirements that they figured out. which is way more dangerous because we are talking about common sense. And for us, like a login form is a common sense and you don't need to write requirements. But a lot of the misalignments between developers and product people are based on the common sense that's missing. For them, this is a common sense that this feature is going to work this way because they've been working with such features like all of their life. And for us, it's not a common sense. And I've seen huge misalignment saying, guys, this is a common sense, and we're like, no, it's not. What is this? So yeah, that's my like 2 cents on more senior people versus more junior people requiring these requirements.
Yeah, it is often not about seniority, because I have seen quite senior people who are simply lazy and use this phrase as well.
Okay.
But you're completely right, and I'm probably going to be crucified by my colleagues for saying we can test without the requirements, because even if for the login form, there will be a lot of questions. For instance, okay, should the username have any maximum length? What about the password? Should they be strong? What is strong password? Should they contain at least yada 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 symbols and yada 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 special characters and so on? What is allowed? What is not? How many attempts are needed to walk out the account and things like that?
That's not a common sense. That is like specific details that needs to be written somewhere in order to validate them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The good thing is, as soon as you have the questions, the right questions to ask, you are halfway done with the testing, because if you have the questions and you know who to ask, you will soon get the answers and have those put in your acceptance criteria or specifications, or at least pay them attention in another way. By the way, I have been working for a company where we didn't have appropriate documentation and technical and functional specifications, and I was empowered only to maintain my test plan, nothing else. We were not allowed to amend the stories because they were made from third party, whatever. The thing is, half a year later, actually, our test plan was the best specification of the entire product, and all the product and project managers were using it as a source of truth. It was really
We've also seen this, by the way. We've also seen this.
Exactly.
Clients with really good QAs, the QAs end up being the source of truth for how the system is working, even for the product folks.
Exactly.
And
basically, the test scenarios are the source of truth of how things should work. And pretty often, even the product people are checking them, in our case, to see, for example, what's the maximum length of the password or the minimum length that you have. And pretty often, even the developers don't know, because this is part of the framework, for example, and they didn't really dig into the configuration. So pretty often, in our case, the QA is becoming like the MVP of the whole team, because he or she knows everything about the product, and can also be pretty helpful in the product meetings, because has all the context about the current state of the product right now. Or if it is not in her or his head, it is at least somewhere in the test scenarios, which was a game changer for me once we onboarded the QAs, because we started onboarding QAs like 3 years ago, probably.
No, it was more recently.
More recent, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, 2-3 years ago, something like this, and it's changed a lot of things in our like current teams. The effect was like huge, mainly because if the QA is proactive and putting all this down, trying to gather all the knowledge instead of being reactive, saying, hey, I don't have the requirements, I don't really know how this is supposed to work, the QA is becoming like the MVP of the team, alongside the team lead, of course, knowing how everything works, and everyone is just asking the QA, hey, how is this supposed to work?
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Is this an often case for the QA to become like really core part of the whole product like group at all?
I'm not only agreeing with you, I have seen in practice, inclusively in my current company, and cooperation between QA and product, it's really a good thing. Well, I have seen people with the mindset who say QA should be also only someone who verifies the software, who tests it, and if there are any bugs, I work those bugs, and that's all. And I have seen the other QA centric mindset where people think, okay, QA is the center of everything. They have to communicate with the product team. They have to talk to the developers and see the best practice. They need to inform the management and report. They need to define the future features with product. They need to see marketing and compare what we are producing as a product compared to what we are selling to the customers. And maybe both of these are not exactly what QA is in the reality, but definitely the mindset where QAs put themselves in the center of the whole story makes them better professionals, and the company gains really more value from their work.
Well, that's really, I think, really well said, like trying to describe some kind of extremes, because if you lack product, usually the QA becomes the product person. And if you lack QA, usually the product becomes takes some of the responsibilities of the QA. And if you lack both, then usually the person or the folks leading the team take on those responsibilities, and of course you want to build on top of this. And that's why for me QA is not, I really hate it when someone just confines it to testing, like you are a tester, you don't have to do anything else. And it's rather a position that's for me closer to product ownership and product management, and equally distanced to engineering, but you are somewhere out there in the middle. Yes, testing and validation are important, but it's not the only thing that you need to be doing. And I drew a diagram. Let me show it to the camera. It's not my best work, but back to the topic of I cannot test this because I don't have requirements. And the way I reason about it is that requirements is some kind of a core. It's a stable foundation that at a certain point you need requirements, you need test scenarios, test cases. You need to know how to provide. For me, it's consistency, because you gave the cooking example and the recipe example. Perhaps one of the most important things if you are a professional cook is to be consistent with the things that you're doing. And for me, requirements, the core is the consistency part, and then the sheriff and the investigative and the detective part is like the ring around it, and I call it exploration. And usually when a QA starts without requirements, you need to give it some activation energy to go through the exploration phase and reach requirements. But what I see is that folks often stop here. And then the way that I reason about it is you need to be kind of flowing between, hey, this is my stable foundation, and this way I can provide consistency, I can assure a certain level of quality. Yet if I don't go out exploring and thinking about how do you, because the end user does not have requirements. The end user is using our system without requirements. And if you as a QA are testing the system only around the requirements, you're not actually using the system as an end user. And you cannot expect the engineers, the software developers to do that, because we are guilty of knowing the happy path that works.
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm using a system that I know is broken, but I'm using it in a way that I know it works. And I'm never going to touch the thing that is broken because I know it's broken and I don't want to hit it. But just wanted to give my reasoning about this, about what we've discussed so far, and see if we can add some more nuances to it. The point being, QA is not only about testing.
Indeed, indeed, it is not only about testing. And actually, what you first mentioned about product and QA, in my career, I have seen many more people becoming product owners or product managers from their QA career track rather than becoming developers. And yeah, we are as QAs, we are dealing really a lot more with the product itself. And what you just showed on that diagram, we have exploration, and there is a whole branch of testing that is called exploratory testing. And it is exactly about going out of the requirements, out of the box, if you want to say. And
and
actually,
how do so again? I'm the right now on this episode the person with the problems.
okay.
A QA is listening to this, and so far we've covered that QA and product are very closely related, and you have to be going into product as well. Yet you need to be also assuring quality, reporting back bugs, testing. And then quite often people talk about automation. Like this is everyone wants to become an automation QA engineer, which goes more into the engineering part. And we're going to talk about this in a second. So how would someone change their mindset or change the hats that they're wearing on a daily basis, being one day more towards the product and the other day more towards the engineering? I think this really confuses people when they get into a QA role. So I believe it's going to be useful to talk a little bit more about this.
Actually, the answer is very, very simple.
Mm.
If you are automating the chaos becomes bigger and much faster. So you have to order the things first and know how and what to test. If you figure that out, day to day, you start testing the same damn boring thing
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And as soon as you get bored of that, the chance of error to occur becomes bigger, because when you are getting bored, it's much easier to omit something. And at that point, you have done it, let's say, 10 plus times. It is time to automate it and do something that is much more interesting, much more challenging, and leave the boring, repetitive part to the scripts. So if you can write the script, that's a good thing, because it's fast and easy. But yeah, the question is what we can do if you are not able to write the script. Sometimes it is because you lack the coding skills. Sometimes it is just because it is really, really hard. I had one drag and drop that tortured me for 3 months until we managed to find a workaround for that. So sometimes technically you have also a big challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Radu mentioned that our users are using the system without any requirements, which is extremely true. Sometimes they have like guidance or something, but they have the domain knowledge. So in order to use the system and all these fancy words in the UI, they mean something to you. And oftentimes, if you're a QA, you don't have the domain knowledge for this particular piece of software, which for me is incredibly hard to test without the domain knowledge. And I think a lot of people are afraid of getting this domain knowledge, and it's a must for testing the software, so you can truly understand what are the problems that this software solves, and is it like good at all, or is it handling the straight cases or only some edge cases. So domain knowledge is really important for, I think, for QAs, and getting all this domain knowledge is a must while testing. And you can't be just ignoring the domain and try to manually test some scenarios, like executing them like a robot. You need to understand what are the problems that this thing solves. What do you think?
Absolutely. Long story short. Okay, short answer. You need both. You need the domain and the technical knowledge.
Okay.
Longer answer. I have a story. I have been working for a big sports betting company for a while, and we had two teams. One team was based in Sofia, and it was hired by me. Those were the technical guys, really good in automation, with very good theoretical knowledge about QA in general, knowing all the terms, all the types of testing, where to look for the bugs, etc., etc. But they didn't know anything about sports betting. The other team was in Plovdiv, and they were calling them the QA traders, because actually the guys were sports betting traders. They knew absolutely everything about sports. There were like 500 people, and out of those 500 people, the best 10 were chosen. They were knowing where did Ronaldo slept last night? Is Messi feeling any pain at the moment or not? Things like that. For every single player that is going to play, they were looking in the systems and correcting the quotients if they felt with their gut feeling that there is something that is not correct.
Okay.
And it was really a challenge mixing those two teams into one, but it kind of worked. The thing was, we were really a lot traveling between Sofia and Plovdiv, and both teams were communicating with dedicated sessions where people who are the QA traders with the domain knowledge were talking to the other people and vice versa. So everyone had some of the other's team knowledge, and this is how things started working. It simply didn't happen the other way. I'm not telling that, let's say, if you need to create dental software, for instance, you have to graduate medicine and dentistry and become dentist in order to test that software. But at least there are some trainings that need to be made by dentists, and you have to gain some domain knowledge from somewhere. And the more you have, the better.
That makes sense. I like how we started from the QA is like a developer, but with not such skills, and now we are on the point where the QA is someone with business knowledge, with technical knowledge, helping product people, helping developers, like being all over the place in order to perform his job the best.
Yep.
It can be, yeah. I'm sorry. Go.
What I wanted to say is actually there first is a big difference if you want just to be a tester. We call them jokingly monkey clickers.
Okay.
So you just click and see if it works, or you want to become a really good QA. Because okay, we are not lying. We know the situation. Most of the people currently are monkey clickers in the QA branch, and
They're trained to be.
Yes, and with the AI, we'll probably jump later on that. Those professions will need to be changed really a lot, really adjusted, and I'm talking here about the QA people who want to be really good at their profession. What's the difference between a really good developer and a really good QA engineer? Okay, you are a good developer, you get a technology, you are really good at it, for instance Java, and you know almost every method, you know how exactly to make your logic, your structure, to implement different inheritances, complicated structure. Of course, the QA engineer, even if they are good developers, won't know how to do that. But still, as a Java developer, if you dedicate all of your time in programming, probably you will not know that much about operating systems, about networking, about product, about marketing. And in that aspect, QA is not good developer, but he knows a little bit about development. QA may be not a good marketing expert, but still he should know a little bit about how the product is marketed and sold to our customers. QA may not be a real product owner, but still they should know how the product is supposed to work and what is important for the users and the customers. And if you want, in conclusion, if you want to be a really good QA, you have to get a little bit from each of those.
So it's effectively a really well suited career for generalists, folks who like to know something from a broad area of topics. And what Pesha just said, good QAs, the folks that bring value, they know a little bit or sometimes even a lot about a broad area of topics, and they can bring value because they can change heads towards sometimes product, sometimes engineering. And in bigger companies, there are going to be folks leaning towards more towards engineering, more towards product, more towards consistency. And I'm a really pedantic person. I really want to make sure that we are shipping things that are not introducing any regressions. Yet folks right now are mostly trained in the clicking part, and they're kind of confined. For me, this is confinement, where every time you step out of the clicking manual clicking and testing part, you think of yourself, this is not for me. I don't have to do this because this is not what I have been taught. And in reality, good QAs need to be quite curious and quite proactive and generalize all over the place, because this then becomes indispensable in teams that are building software. And we can say this from our experience. We have 5 QAs here at HackSoft, and every team that they join, they become like the core. You know that you can work with this person not only about assuring quality and consistency, but also figuring what to do, how to approach things. And that's why I love this profession. Perhaps because I'm more of a generalist, but to me it sounds like a very interesting profession where you can learn various things. You need engineering skills; those take some time to learn, even with AI. Still, AI is not a replacement for human experience. Yet, if you confine yourself only to manual clicking, you're not gonna get far. Is this a good summary for the first topic that we covered?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And you may not be a generalist. You may be, for example, if you're testing, let's say, enterprise routers, you need software for enterprise routers. You need to have really good knowledge on how the internet works, like protocols, IP addresses, so all those stuff, in order to find like corner cases where the router is having issues, which I guess is really hard to find such people, because you need to have like pretty strong engineering knowledge about about networking, let's say, which is a huge topic. And there are people that are working, network administrators, without being QAs. And then if you add a QA on top of it, I guess it becomes like really, really hard to do all that work in one person or even one team. Or it's not. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know either, to be honest. What I can say is you are not always able to find absolutely the right person. The question is whether you are able to train that person. Domain knowledge could be given, and technical knowledge can also be given. The soft skills and attitude is something that at least I am not able to change easily.
Makes sense. Okay, I'm going to take you back a little to the example with the grandma cooking a cake at the kitchen. So if I'm about to do some quality assurance on the cake without having a good understanding of how the cake should be made, I can only taste it and say, yeah, that's good, or no, grandma, sorry, it's not good. But all the little details that are actually making the cake, like sometimes my grandma put it in the oven, sometimes she put it in the microwave, for example, I don't know. And if I don't understand those little details, I can hardly be a QA, right? I can just taste it and say it's good or it's not. It may not meet any criteria, but I can only say like pretty subjective things without knowing the whole process. So, what are the like array of knowledge, array of skills you need to have in order to be a good quality assurance? Do you need to deeply understand the process, or you just need to understand the output?
Yeah, we started that QA is a process, and what you just described, tasting the cake, that is simply testing.
Okay.
So you have to be aware of the process. You should be able to give really good suggestions. You should be able to know exactly what kind of plates and cream and oven should be used while you are preparing that cake and things like that. But there is one very important aspect that maybe we have been missing. If you put yourself in the role of the grandmother, okay, you have made this cake. To you, it might really taste quite sweet or just right. And if someone else tries your cake, they could say, "Oh, it is really salty," for instance.
Okay.
And that is why QA has to be independent body. Actually, no one says their child is ugly, and
Yeah.
no one says that their child is ugly, and that is actually applicable to the software development as well. And that is why QA has to be a separate body, separate person to who can assess your software quite independently.
Detached from creation. I think this is really well said.
Yes.
Because again, when we create something as software engineers, aside from we know what to test and we know what's working,
The happy part is working.
yeah, we also are attached to what we have created, and sometimes it's hard to be critical of what you have created. And what Peshu just said is extremely important. Someone needs to be detached in order to provide good quality assurance. Not to you're not going to say, "Hey, grandma, this cake tastes really good," when it's actually salty. Not to hurt her feelings, but rather, "Hey, by the way, this is quite salty." And about the cake, I mean, when you have to give assessment on the final product on the cake, you are wearing a hat assessing the final product, and I think you should not be thinking about, or at least if it's not at the moment required, think about the process. Yet assessment on the final output does not mean that the process is actually good, because the final output can be really good, like extremely tasty cake. Yet if you need to assess the process and you find out that they're not handling their eggs in a good way, and there's quite a lot of chicken poop on the eggs that goes in the mix, although it's baked, and even if, for example, if they're making tiramisu, sometimes it cannot be baked, then you need to be wearing a different hat, assessing the process and looking it through a different angle. And I think this is the hard part about the profession, that you need to change. Okay, right now I'm going to assess the final product, or right now I'm going to assess the process. And I actually don't care about the final product as much, but rather I want to make sure I'm not going to poison people. So you have to be going through a spectrum and wearing different hats.
You're completely right. And literally about wearing hats, there is an approach that is called the 6 hats of De Bono. You can Google that. But yeah, there are 6 hats. There are white one that is focusing on the process, black one, which is the pessimistic one. You have also the green one that is about opportunities and what if we do it differently. read one about how I'm feeling about that optimistic one, the yellow one that is mostly okay, why this might actually work. And am I missing one? Maybe the blue one, which is actually the process-oriented one.
So you would recommend folks listening that are either working or wanting to explore this as a career opportunity to check about De Bono's thinking hats.
Six thinking hats of De Bono.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep. But yeah, we have to put different hats and walk into that. Returning back to the basis of what Ivo just said. So there is a tendency for moving left and moving right from the pure testing. So if we say that the center of QA is software testing, we have this shift left where before the software reaches its final inspection, QA should be involved into the requirements, the coding itself, static code analysis, code reviews, functional requirements reviews, all the Scrum rituals, etc. So all the things you do before the software goes through its final inspection. But there is also a shift right in the QA profession where we go into that monitoring and I would say DevOps phase where we integrate our test processes, our automation with the CI/CD. We are constantly doing monitoring on the live system, see how the performance goes. Are there any downtimes? Are there any places where the users are struggling from usability perspective, things like that. So what I'm seeing in the last years is that QA becomes much broader and it has much more overlapping. We already mentioned product, but also with the development team and DevOps teams.
Nice. I think we were making a mistake last year. We tried to involve the QAs at the last stage of a feature or when something is basically done just for a QA to validate if it is working. Rather that right now we are trying to involve them in the first stage of a given feature, let's plan it, let's see how it's going to work. And what we find out is that QAs are also pretty valuable at the scoping phase where we try to understand what needs to be built because they know the system and they can find bugs even before, not bugs, but they can find issue with the requirements that we don't have right now, even before we write some code, which to me was a game changer in terms of the process of the software development.
This is actually one of the golden rules about QA. Start testing as early as possible because there is a really good diagram with the cost of the bug fixing in different phase. And if it is during the analytics phase, if it is, let's say, $1, during coding it becomes $10 to fix.
Okay.
During testing it will be $100, and after that it will be thousands of dollars. But each phase delaying is 10 times multiplying the cost of bug fixing. And talking about analogies, we started with the cake. Having QA just doing the final inspection is QA showing up in the birthday party after the cake has been served. You have missed most of the fun. And one final thing on that topic: QA should start as early as possible, but also they should ask really lots of questions. Because if you have I have been to many of those grooming meetings where you define requirements, and most of the people in the call are simply silent. One or two people are talking, the others are probably uh, just appearing in the call, but they might be doing something completely different.
Yeah.
And this is not effective, actually. If there are not enough questions asked, probably you will not end up with the proper acceptance criteria.
Mm-hmm.
These questions will appear sooner or later, but if it is later, usually you lose a lot of time, effort, and money.
Is it safe to say that you should involve QAs as early as possible, only if they are more senior, have good domain knowledge of what we are building, like they're not just jumped into the project for like 2 weeks, and if they're really proactive? Other words, I don't really see a huge benefit of having them on these calls.
Yeah, I really hope that if they are senior enough, they will be proactive.
Yeah.
It's not always the case, of course, but most of the time it is. And yeah, just to make it easier, I would usually include the most senior person in my grooming session,
Mm-hmm.
or the most knowledgeable one, because from my practice, I have seen that the most senior QA people, they are usually good in automation, and they are dedicated to, they are the so-called SDET, software development engineering testing, and are more like software developers who just develop tests. But from product perspective, sometimes more junior people might be more dedicated and ask more proper questions. So I would choose person who is proactive, knowledgeable, and really cares about the product and its future during those grooming sessions.
That seems like the key thing, yeah. Knowledgeable about the product and really cares about the product.
Curious. I mean, all I'm hearing so far is curiosity and not limiting yourself to what you have been taught in the 3 months QA course at some academy. Of course, there are great QA courses. We know that Pragmatic are doing really good
Yeah.
manual and automation QA trainings. Yet people, they're kind of taught, hey, you are only a clicker, and they remain only a clicker, which is not a good thing, because QA is a great profession. You can go in engineering direction, you can go in product direction, and be valuable to the team and the company and to yourself, of course. And you know, Daddy, for how long have we been recording so far? 1 hour. We're
Whoa.
going to make a break in a second, but you know, in this 1 hour, what we haven't actually mentioned at all?
What?
Tools like test case management systems and stuff like this, because I think they are important, but not as important. And what I've seen is when people discuss quality assurance, they go into, hey, you should be using Jira, or you should be using, how should I pronounce Case?
Case, I think.
Case.
Quace.
I don't know.
Yeah, or you should be using Kiwi, or you should be using something else, which I think misses this 1 hour conversation that we just did about the higher level thinking about the profession is more important than what you're using. You can be using Excel spreadsheets.
It works.
You can use whatever. And my suggestion is to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we come back, dive into actually, we're going to discuss what we're going to dive into during the break, and you will find out after the break. So we're taking a break.
Yay. According to the YouTube analytics, a huge percentage of you are not subscribed to our channel. So if you like our content, please subscribe. We are aiming at 2,500 subscribers, and at the point we reach them, we are going to do a giveaway. We still don't know what we are going to give away, but if you have any good suggestions, please put them in the comments below. And we are back from the break. How are you guys?
Very well.
Braked.
Not broken, breaked.
You feel well rested. You know how you log in into World of Warcraft and you haven't been playing for some time,
Yeah.
and it says you feel well rested.
Yeah, so you have double experience for the next like level or something. Yeah. So I would like to share some experience. Last year, we opened a QA position and we made a hiring round. So we received like around 50 CVs. 90% of them were people without any experience in the industry, basically fresh from the academies, trying to apply for like clicking position, without any technical skills, which I'm always saying on the interviews that to me QAs are like developers, but way more disciplined. And they need to have this development, like not background, but at least knowledge, and be curious about how things work. And they were like almost offended. They were like, hey, I don't want to be a developer. I want to be a QA. Why are you asking me how the HTTP protocol works? Should I know about this? So can we speak a little bit about the current state of the market and how to enter in the QA world?
Sure. The good old topic about QA as side entrance to
An
the
easy way to
IT.
get in, yeah.
Cool. First, let me share that I have made 2 surveys because of the conferences, and the analysis is actually part of my PhD dissertation about the current state. So the first survey was done in 2014,
Okay.
and the second was done in 2018, which is actually only 4 years difference. And at that time, roughly 2 more times people were coming from an area different than IT. So the people who hadn't any IT related education were twice as much. And in 2014, most of the people on the conference were knowing more than 2 programming languages, for sure, 2.4 if I remember. Later on, the average was 1.
Okay.
So things like that were clearly showing that people from other areas are entering the IT sector in Bulgaria. And I'm talking about 2018. Nowadays, 2024, I'm sure that things are much different, especially in the QA, where in most of the company, coding skills are not a requirement. Also, we had a really big boom several years ago from the gaming and gambling industry,
Okay.
where they really needed hundreds of testers. And if you get let's say 5-6 companies that hire like 100 plus QA engineers each, you get quite a big quantity of those testers. Whether they are monkey clickers or not, I have seen both. But especially in the gaming branch, you can imagine someone in their 20s who says, "Bro, I'm playing games all the day and they're paying me for that."
Yeah.
And what was really interesting was in one point the company was paying for conferences, for different trainings, seminars, and people were simply not wanting to go to those events, even though everything is arranged. If they were able to skip one day off work, maybe they would go.
Okay.
But otherwise, if it is during the weekend, they were even not bothering about improving themselves. And this was to some extent very frightening, at least to me, event. So I think what is recently happening, the crisis in our IT branch is something that could be actually a good filter for those people. Back to the question, for sure, QA can be an approachable option for entering the IT sector, but definitely it is not an easy one. Maybe several years ago it was easy to enter that way. Now this is not the case, definitely. Most of the companies simply don't need such people anymore. And I think the talent pool has reached its cap at the moment, at least in Bulgaria. But from what I'm hearing from my colleagues, it is the same in the whole Eastern Europe, at least. I know about Greece, Romania, Poland, and Serbia and Macedonia that the situation is quite similar.
All right. So it's QA is not an easy way to enter the IT industry anymore.
Yeah, it's an approachable one,
Okay.
but it's not an easy one.
Okay.
Definitely, you need to learn, you need to study, you need to be curious, as Rado said, and you need a big set of soft skills that you have to already have, and a lot of technical skills that you need. But yeah, let's continue the topic a little bit. Many people are probably asking, okay, I want to become a QA.
Yeah.
Where should I start from? Of course, the summer is coming. Many of the companies are proposing internships. They're mainly aiming at university, faculty of mathematics and informatics, technical universities, computer science specialties, and so on. But actually, the university degree, and I'm a PhD saying that, is not something that is a hard requirement for any software company, I would say. It's definitely a plus, but I have seen cabin crew, architects,
Okay.
and even gardeners that are really good professionals an year after they have joined the IT. So it all really depends on you.
Can you start somehow as a QA like freelancer or something
Yeah,
like that?
sure. And I would mention crowd testing.
Okay, what's that?
Crowd testing is an approach and a platform at the same time. Many companies that want to check whether their software works on different platforms and different users are releasing the so-called beta versions. But a step earlier than that, they want to make a limited beta, which should be tested by users with QA knowledge.
Okay.
And usually this is the place where those crowd testing platforms step in. So you can register in such a platform. There are several ones. You can Google that. For instance, I'm using Testing Birds, or at least I used to be able to include some of my friends into that. But usually you register yourself, you say what kind of devices do you have, and I mean your laptop, your desktop, your tablets, your mobile phones, everything you have, you register it. You set what kind of internet connection you have, what kind of skills do you have, do you have any certificates, any courses, which languages do you know, which part of the planet you are located in.
All right.
And after you provide all of these details, you are eventually approached to test for, let's say, 3 or 4 days new product, and you are giving reports. Usually the payment is between $5 and $100 per bug found.
Okay.
Which is symbolic, I would say, but it's a really good start, and it is something that you can put on your CV.
Okay.
Another thing you can put on your CV, and no one can stop you about that, is contributing to open source projects. Open source projects are not only about code, there is also documentation, there is also QA. And if you search for that, you can find an open source project that is really interesting for you. And yeah, you will donate or dedicate some of your time, but let's say after half a year, you will have half a year experience as QA, and will be much more approachable. About the academies, it's a good thing. I'm not going to mention names because almost all the academy founders are good friends of mine.
All right.
But in general, they can give you a good, solid basics. Still, you will need the practice in order to be able to become a real QA engineer.
That was a great insight.
And I would say, especially right now, there are a lot of people looking for QA jobs that are more focused. Like the folks are focused towards clicking, like manual QA as an entry in the IT because, and it's important to mention the reasons they are looking for this. Some of them might be curious and might want to actually change careers, but for me, the main driving factor is it's better paid than the average, or at least so they think it's better paid than the average job that you can have in Bulgaria. And remote, because of the pandemic, it sounds like a great opportunity. I'm going to get more money and I'm going to work from home. Sounds like a great deal. And this is what some of the academies are using to lure people in. But the reality, as Pesho described it, is a bit different. And I would say, think really hard if this profession is for you, if you're going to find passion and joy. Payment, salary is important, flexibility is important, but I believe they will come at a later stage. And I would say, don't isolate yourself just staying at home, just taking some academy over Zoom, because this will not do it. Like, go to meetups, go to conferences, just talk with people that are doing this, and this way you will get a better insight of what the job actually requires, what's important for the folks that find joy and passion. Like, Pesho is such a person. He finds joy, he finds passion in the things that he's doing. And for me, this is way, way more important than just taking a 4 month course and then expecting someone to pay you more than what you're already having as a salary in the IT and working remote. I think those days are now over. I'm not sure they will ever come back. So don't isolate yourself. Pesho's doing a conference. Like, it's in September. We're right now, what's February? Yeah,
February.
Yep.
February. But just go to meetups, go talk with people, be curious and be proactive. I think those are the two of the hardest things that for finding a first job. Because Pesh says go do open source, but if you have no idea, you're not going to do open source. You're just going to be like, you won't have the activation energy to put yourself out there and talk with people and start doing open source. Or the other thing, freelance. If you have no idea what you're doing, you first need to also have business skills to negotiate, to chase for payments, and to actually provide value and be paid for that value. And it's really hard to do when you are just starting. And that's why curiosity and proactivity for me are the most important part. And the other is the feeling of being useless is it's quite often encountered in our industry and profession, and it's something that you have to get used to it, because you're useless for 2 days, and then on the third day you get an aha. Okay, I think I get it, and then you continue providing value until you hit the next useless point. And I think this is not taught enough in the academies, and it's most definitely not the case in other professions. Here in IT and software development, you're gonna feel useless a lot, and that's okay. Just wanted to add some thoughts.
Yep.
Actually, if you want, you can bring your microphone a little bit closer. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, there are several things I would like just to add up. First, yes, academies, this is not their purpose to make you good in practice. This is what your job will do with you. This is the same with the university, actually. They are giving you some theory fundamentals, and from there on, it's about your attitude, your passion, enthusiasm, and curiosity. And yeah, this is maybe indeed where different meetups, courses, and conferences come in place. But actually, it is the same for any profession. Yeah, it is especially important for IT to be well connected, because usually this is very, very quickly how you learn about the new things, and IT is changing quite fast. And also having good connections and things like that is always a good thing. Knowing people from all over the world is also helpful. And yeah, I'm not talking about only my conference. Yes, QA Challenge Acceptance is in September, but there are also many other good events. What's going with HackConf? Is it going to be after?
There are too many conferences right now in Bulgaria, and we don't see how we're going to add value with yet another one. Also, we put a lot of passion in it, but so far there are no plans on. But we are resurrecting Hack Bulgaria, and we are resurrecting it as a community. So for all the folks in Bulgaria, go find Hack Bulgaria on Facebook. We are going to do a lot of good stuff that will add value to you. So yeah.
I can recommend. You are the one who taught me how to program in Golang.
Yeah. We had a course about this. Yeah.
And about QA, just let's mention several other events.
Yes.
So in Bulgaria, on the top of QA Challenge Accepted, we have ISTACon, which is more dedicated to automation, usually in November. We have C-Test, which is rotating usually between Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, and this year I think it's in Croatia.
Okay.
And yeah, also there are very, very good conferences in the neighboring countries, Romania, Turkey, Greece. So there is a site that is called testingconferences.org, where you can see all the upcoming conferences for QAs and make it a trip. I usually try to combine the business with the pleasure and go abroad and visit different conferences. Of course, steal the best speakers and invite them to my conference, things like that. But in general, I believe, and I deeply believe, that it is very, very important to go to such events, drink beer with colleagues, and learn new things.
Be proactive. Yeah. I mean, Pesha is really, really proactive. He's always all over the place, and sometimes, at least for me, I have found his inspiration in what he's doing, because it's always good to see someone doing something that, hey, he's putting energy in this and he just wants to achieve something. And I'm going to quote this again. I'm not sure if I quoted this in the last episode, but I really liked it. It was a random Instagram reel that said something like, "We are not rich enough to be useless," meaning we don't have that much money to just sit around and do nothing. And for me, the general advice that I can give is just don't sit around doing not. Just do some, be proactive, go local, talk with people, read things online. YouTube is full of great materials. Just be proactive. Don't expect that you're going to find a job only because you have finished one of the academies.
And get yourself out of your comfort zone for sure. By the way, can I share something I did out of my comfort zone?
Please.
In the end of last year, actually, I started an initiative with a friend of mine, Stefan Vartolomev. Many of you know him from
The IT tours.
From the
Yeah.
IT tours and OpenFest. OpenFest is also a great opportunity to learn some QA stuff and still stick to the general IT. So we both tried by his idea something that has never been done before, teaching blind people to QA.
Nice.
And yeah, there were aspects that it didn't completely work without mentor, but there are aspects where it works quite well, and especially in the area of accessibility testing, it's a really interesting initiative and quite challenging for someone to work with those people. I really admire most of them and want to congratulate them for their effort if they are listening to the cast.
That's great.
Kudos for doing that.
Yeah, so going on a conferences is a great fun, but if you're new in the industry and you have the chance to work with other people in the same office, in the same room, you should definitely grab this opportunity. Go there, look at their screens from time to time, check how they're doing, what they're using, get as much insight as possible, because right now this is like an opportunity to go in the office and people are neglecting it. Because the other 10% of the people, roughly 10%, that I interviewed last year for our QA position were people working as manual QAs, wanting to get into the automation part, but their company didn't just provide this ability. For example, the project that they were working was only requiring manual testing, and for some reason they did not do any automation. And they were looking to switch roles and start doing automation. So in terms of switching from manual to automation, what are the best tools, the best languages, what is the easiest way to switch?
Just start programming. I mean,
on what?
Okay, maybe look at the job advertisements,
Okay.
see what is the most popular language. I would bet on Java and Python currently,
Okay.
but the language doesn't matter. As soon as you have learned your first one, the second will be half the time needed, and the third and the fourth and the fifth will require just a couple of days.
Okay.
So the important part is to learn the basics, and for QA it is, let's face it, it is not that tricky, because usually the scripts you are going to write are automation scripts, which are select, click, select, click,
Okay.
right click.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not a rocket science after all. My kids, when they were 5 years old, they started with Scratch, and they learned to program. The difference is you are not dragging blocks, you are writing code. But essentially, if you usually the people who have been manual QAs for a long time are afraid of joining automation when they see an IDE with some code in it. So, okay, watch some YouTube videos, go to Udemy, or just go to if you are in a company, go to the developer's desk and sit together with them for a couple of hours and see what they are doing with that code. And you will see that it is not that complicated. It is not such a rocket science. As soon as you write first one or two programs, it will be really easy to go with coding.
And in terms of automation frameworks, because they almost like come together, the language and the framework you're using,
Well,
what's popular now?
It depends on what you are testing. For instance, disclaimer here, I'm not in mobile for, let's say, 5+ years.
Okay.
So not dealing a lot with mobile frameworks recently. In my company currently, we're using Selenium with some upgrades. It is GB, which I don't know how to pronounce. It is GEP or JEP.
Okay.
And another thing that is called Spock. You can check them, but it is actually Selenium with bells and whistles, and it works really well. The tricky part is it is groovy as programming language, but you can also write in Java, so not such a problem. And this is what I have been doing in the last 4+ years. It works quite well, does the job, integrates with Jenkins. So every morning, my team receives a Slack message with how many tests have passed and are there any errors, including video recordings of the session, which is really good. It works with several browsers, getting that from Selenium, of course. So it is really a good thing, but it has been years of effort for my entire team to reach that, get the code coverage needed, etc., etc. But yeah, the tool is good, but sometimes it really doesn't matter what tool you are using. Many of the colleagues are using Selenium.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing good things for Playwright and not so good things about Cypress.
Same here, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you hear the rumbling? Sasha Filth is coming, and
Yeah.
we had some experience with Cypress, but we decided it's not worth it.
Playwright is what we use
We use Playwright.
with Python,
Yeah.
because I decided. So I don't know. Playwright was at the time we chose it. It was supporting Python and JavaScript, and I decided to go with Python, even though it's not the native like support for Playwright. But in
What's
my,
the native one?
I think it's JavaScript.
JavaScript.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. The JavaScript API is just better, supports the latest things, or it was the case like couple months before. But I decided to go with Python because to me Python is an easier language to learn, and we have Python 101 Forever in YouTube, which is another like.
We have, it's not finished.
But it's a good start.
Finish your thought.
But it's a good start.
I'll add a couple
and
of cents.
Because we write a lot of Python and JavaScript in the company, so it doesn't really matter for the developers. Just my opinion is that Python is a little bit easier to learn by people that are new in the industry.
Yeah, I think in top US university, Python is taught as first programming language at the moment.
I would say, from what I've seen, like the default approach is Java plus Selenium. And if I have to recommend something, first it will be check the job offers and see what's the most occurring language out there. But if I have to recommend something blindly, I would say Java and Selenium is a good default, because then if you have some experience with Java, you will move towards Python more easily, and this might not be the case if you have some experience with Python and you have to move towards Java. I think this would be my blind recommendation. And of course, for the Microsoft world out there, it's C# on .NET. So that if you know C#, you can also use this as a framework. But as you see, the reaction of the three of us is it doesn't really matter, because we have a lot of experience and we've been programming and developing software for a lot. Yet, if you're just starting, what Pesha said, learn programming, which is different from software development and software engineering. Like those are two different fields. Learn programming in the ways of how do I get from point A to point B solving this particular problem. And this may take some time. And again, you might be feeling like I don't know how to approach this problem, and this is normal, and you just have to sit there and watch the problem and try different things until you arrive at the solution. Very rarely, and I just want to say for all the folks who are still struggling in the beginning with this, very rarely any of us knows the solution to a problem right away. The case most often is, I have no idea how to solve this. Really no idea. I don't really care about that I don't have an idea, but I'm just going to start poking around, start writing some code, and while I am doing this, I will start figuring out a solution, or I will better understand the problem that I'm trying to solve and see, there's no need to solve anything, or the solution is going to be something different. This is the natural state of things. Not knowing how the final solution is going to look like is natural, and we are all so used to it that it doesn't bother us, but it really bothers the folks that are just starting. I just want to say this.
That's important. Sometimes you need to figure out what are the questions to be asked and Google them if you don't know the answers in order to figure out the solution. But if you don't have this experience, you can't really intuition. You can't really figure out what the questions are. You don't really know what you don't know.
There's a lot of sitting and thinking. Like if you watch someone from the side working as a software engineer, sometimes it's just
thinking.
Yeah, and not
typing. For the people that are only listening.
Thank you.
That probably explains why there are some logical problems given at interviews for IT jobs.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
First of all, you have to think. And about the tooling, one final remark: you don't hammer nail with the screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need the proper tool. So if a specific language, framework, or whatever is very good for your current project, that doesn't mean that it is the best possible tool for your next one.
Very well said.
For sure. You mentioned that automating test scenarios is not a rocket science. But to me, what is a rocket science is creating the proper framework and automations, CI, like everything to be properly designed in order for the test to be actually valuable. Because if you just leave a couple people that know how to write Python, let's say, and ask them to automate things, the output would be an unmaintainable piece of code that you better just don't have, right? That's my opinion.
Absolutely. And as I said, number one transition for the QA profession is from QA engineer to product owner, product manager. Number three is to software developer. Do you know which is number two?
I would guess something around infrastructure and architecting frameworks and stuff.
DevOps.
Okay. Exactly. That's the correct answer. Yeah. And usually that is because you have to set up CI/CD to work with your automation tests. Okay. They have to be run, let's say, on every commit, smoke tests that should finish within a minute or two. And on, let's say, daily basis, you want to do some functional tests, everything that you have automated, some security, some performance tests. All of this is usually put in a CI/CD environment. We are using Jenkins at the moment. We're considering replacing it with something else. But anything you do is quite closely connected with DevOps. And usually DevOps guys get most beers from the QA engineers in the companies. And I guess that's the reason why. You have to get all the scripts implemented. Maybe one of the biggest managerial mistakes you can make is to have a really, really good test automation with really good coverage and not run it.
Yeah.
And to be able to run it, you need to have DevOps. If you do it manually, usually it is forgotten or something else happens. And this is not the case. The second part is reporting, of course, and we figured out that receiving emails is not the correct thing to do, because people receive 3 or 4 mails and after that they forget to look at that. The thing that worked best for us was Slack message.
You're doing the same
every morning.
Yeah, it's great. After the nightly build, you wake up and you see what got wrong. If you have a way to add some like images or videos on the errors of the test, it is awesome.
It is indeed.
And is this something like building the framework, not only the CI, but the framework, like the test runner and all the utilities and different functions that you use in order to make your test more readable, separating the code in like the proper place. Here is the place where, for example, we do pages and things related to the web things, and here are the asserts and stuff. Is this again a DevOps, or is it like a QA that's like a QA architect, or
I would say QA architect and even developer. In the beginning of our conversation, I told you that at one point we saw that we have very little coverage, and we got help from our dev team. So for every new feature, we wanted to have new tests that are implemented, and on the top of that, they fixed, because they saw our code. For some things it was really good, for some things it sucked. And having a developer to look at your QA code, it's a blessing, trust me. They saw many things that could be done easier, repetitive things, classes that can inherit each other, and things like that. And we spent a couple of weeks on that. But after that, we had a framework that is on the top of Japan, Spock, and Selenium, as I said. And it was much easier maintainable because of the developers. Because they simply do this all the day, they know how to code, and they know how to do it really efficiently. So later on, this had a drawback, by the way. We decided to use ChatGPT and AI in order to make our tests. The AI to get our job and make some more coverage in the testing. It did well in general, but it had no idea of our internal infrastructure and wrote a very inefficient code with lots of repetitions. Yeah, it wrote it like a junior QA would.
Okay.
And we had to make a lot of amendments. So now I'm playing with Copilot, and we'll see how it goes. But my hope is to teach Copilot about not general the framework, but also our own specific implemented methods and classes, and to utilize them in the automation. I cannot say anything. We'll see how it goes. However, my role changed a little bit, so I don't have much time for coding nowadays.
Okay. I was in this role of setting up the like entire framework and infrastructure for our new QAs in basically all of the teams, and I think I definitely helped as a developer building this, trying to build the proper abstractions for the QAs to maintain easily good code. And I'm not going to lie, there is some repetitive work. And speaking about AI, are there any good tools rather than just installing Copilot on your IDE that can help you with the repetitive work? Not only like in writing code, but figuring out the scenarios probably based on the requirements or a given document that you wrote before that, or just not figuring out, but helping you if you have missed something or something obvious that, for example, is missing. Yeah. What's the current state, and where do you see the industry goes in, let's say, 3 years?
Well, it changes so rapidly. Well, I'll tell you, I had to prepare in October 2023 talk on TestCon Europe in Lithuania.
Okay.
And the talk was titled Introducing the New Colleague, ChatGPT. I proposed the topic in March and prepared something that was absolutely obsolete by October.
Okay.
So I cannot make a prognosis for the next 3 years for sure. There will be probably many tools that use AI. For the automation part, as I told you, I'm using ChatGPT and playing with Copilot at the moment. So too early to say anything. Maybe you can contribute. For the scenarios, there is a very nice Google Chrome plugin that is called TestCraft.
Okay.
Very suitable for web applications testing, because you just run it, you select an object on the web page, and it is able to generate different test scenarios for that object, like a test plan.
All right.
And it has integrated also, I think, for Cypress and Playwright, integrated functionality where you can define the basis for the test scripts.
Okay. And is it generating code or is generating?
It is generating code, yeah.
Okay, but this code, it doesn't really know about your testing framework, infrastructure, and so on.
Yeah,
so
and I'm using JEP, but looks like a good boilerplate for those who use Playwright and Selenium and Cypress. Sorry.
Okay, and then you need to kind of refactor this code in order to fit your standards in the code, for which you can use something like Copilot, for example.
Yeah.
Basically.
I haven't played with it.
If
You can give it
is
a
the
try.
pattern.
Yeah, if Copilot is the pattern, but it's getting better and better to see patterns if they are patterns.
There are always patterns, but it's just still what we have as AI tools, like the LLMs,
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, Copilot, basically using part of the LLM of ChatGPT. They are just pattern matching stuff and then generating based on whatever weights they have, like next token prediction.
Yeah.
It doesn't think, it doesn't plan, it doesn't reason. You can hack it to reason, try to make it reason, but in the end, you still have to validate the output. And if you don't know if you don't know how to validate the output, it's just as good as copy pasting something random from the internet. So Copilot, I think it can definitely help with writing the boilerplate, but if you put a junior, I think if you put someone that's more junior and give him or her Copilot, it's going to have more negative effects, because there's going to be a certain learned helplessness, because you need to be thinking when you are doing this kind of work, especially QA. You need to be planning and reasoning. And right now, both planning and reasoning are not there. And if we get there, we're going to get AGI, and society as we know it is going to collapse, and we're going to have different problems, but that's a topic for a different time.
Yeah, I think we're still talking about the repetitive piece of work that can be automated sometimes, because sometimes you really know what you need to test. You really know how to test it. Just the typing and choosing the right locators and stuff is kind of repetitive sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
And I think this little part can be drastically improved with some AI. And I can absolutely agree that if you give it to a junior person, the results are not going to be great. So it's a great tool in the hands of the ones that know how to use it.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, during that talk, you can Google it. It is called Introducing Our New Colleague ChatGPT on TestCon Europe in Vilnius, Lithuania, 2023.
Okay.
I have spent an hour explaining how AI works, what are large language models, what are their limitations, tricky parts like temperature hallucination, and etc., and mention about 7-8 different tools that are about, let's say, anonymization of data, also getting Selenium code from a web page and things like that. So things are developing, but I wouldn't say with two hands raised that okay, this is the tool I'm voting for, and it is the best thing you will do. For sure, pure coding will not be replaced by AI completely in the next 5 or 10 years, maybe. But it can be a really, really great tool to improve your work and make you much more efficient in your programming. And last but not least, if you simply want to create a good framework, I would recommend books of Anton Angelov. He recently issued 5-volume book for all the requirements for QA automation engineer to become proficient in their job. And there are quite technical things, including what you just mentioned, avoiding repetitive work.
Nice.
Oh, thank you for the recommendation.
All right.
Are we closing, or do you think we covered the AI topic?
Well, I think we covered the AI topic. Pesho, any other thoughts about AI, or you think we're done?
What do you use mostly in your day-to-day job?
ChatGPT definitely, because
for
it's
code generation or for something else?
For something else,
Okay.
including code generation, but it is something that I really need rarely. But for the conferences I'm organizing, for the communication, if you are communicating with clients, for instance, ChatGPT can give you that little touch of, let's say, American or English style in your emails that usually we, the people from the Balkans, lack. And I'm learning quite a bit from ChatGPT as well in that aspect. You have to be very careful not to share confidential information, of course.
Yes.
So I always filter what I'm giving to ChatGPT. But it is really good, especially if you are emotionally affected, you are angry, let's say, and you need to write a polite mail. ChatGPT does that for you. Other things that you can easily do is, okay, this is my piece of code, something's wrong, can you tell me what? And usually it manages to guess or give you some propositions. But
or direction to look for,
Nice.
Or wrong direction to look for.
You still need to evaluate the answer
of. Another thing that we haven't mentioned about the QA profession is transparency and giving good reports to your managers or customers. And I'm usually sending weekly reports with traffic lights logic. So green, everything is good. Yellow is okay, we have some problems, but we can do on ourselves. And red is okay, we have big problems and we need your intervention in that. And these are quite helpful. Try to stick to one-page reports, so it's easy by the managers to see.
So what do you include in this report? Like, what's the gist of it? Traffic light, okay, we understand this, but the rest of it?
Usually it looks like a table, so it can be project or component or something like that in the first column. Then in the last I give the traffic light status and the person responsible, usually tagged, so you can just click on the name and get an email to that person who is responsible. And 3 or 4 bullets for each of the 3 items, and the 3 items are the Scrum ones. So what did I do this week? What am I going to do next week? And are there any issues or blockers? And it works quite well. But for any other reports, let's say, or getting the essence or making simply your sentences much shorter, ChatGPT is really a good tool to make it work and
awesome,
stylish.
Let me ask a couple questions here. So about the report, you're sending this weekly report to stakeholders?
Yes.
Okay. And this includes features that are currently being developed, not like old ones that are just tested and covered and so on.
Let's say many of our stakeholders
Mhm.
either don't have access to our bug tracking system,
All
Jira,
right. Okay. Yeah.
or
They don't
even
look
if they have, they don't bother with going through each item in the sprint and things like that. Uh, if you have a big feature, a whole epic, let's say, usually you have couple of stories. We try to split them as much as
Mhm.
possible. Of course, no one is interested in every particular story.
Yeah.
They want to see what has been happening, how is the team going, things like that. And this is a really cool way because you just see one table on your screen that is for the entire week, and you get all the information systematized and very short.
Nice. All right. Enough about AI.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's get to more human side of the things. How basically our last question is, how do you rest and recharge as a human being?
As a human being, okay, I'm a gamer, computer
Oh.
gamer. So when I can, I play some games.
What kind of games do you play?
Usually games of the kind where you can pause, you can go to the toilet, do some uh, different things, talk to the children, things like that, then return and you know that nothing has changed.
Okay.
So usually they are tycoons, city builders,
Not competitive games.
not that competitive games. Although sometimes I like exactly that. I can even tell you a story about one of my favorite games, which is they bought me for my birthday a steering wheel.
Okay.
And yeah, Need for Speed and games like that are really cool, but I really liked a game called Euro Truck Simulator, where you are a truck driver. So imagine driving a truck in Germany on a long straight highway, and I'm sitting like this in front of my monitor. My wife comes next to me, see me, that nothing is changing. I'm continuing driving and walking, steering at one point. And after that, she passes next to me again, and walking, nothing is changing. 5 minutes later again,
Same.
and I'm like this. What? And she says, nothing. I'm just wondering how many truck drivers at the moment are playing as QA manager somewhere in the. Yeah. Another thing I really love is traveling. As I told you previously, I'm trying to combine going to different IT events with traveling, and I really love to travel. On the top of that, I have a blog, personal blog with my wife, where we write about everything Peter and Biljana.net.
Okay.
And I'm also keen on photography for the very same reason.
All right. All right. I guess you're good at time management because organizing conference while being director of engineering, photographer, gamer, and father is like a lot of things.
Yeah, trying to combine all of these and get enough sleep at the same time.
That's important.
It is.
Rado, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Well, Pesha, I think this was a very important conversation to have. And it's for sure an initial conversation. There are many more things to be said, but I really like that we focused on the more general aspect of quality assurance, giving some thoughts and ideas about the profession. Really liked it. I think it's lacking. Most of the conversation nowadays are focused on tooling and languages and frameworks, which are important, but not as important as the general concept of what does quality assurance entail. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming and joining us here. We have a gift for you. It's it's not a wheel or a chair for the Euro Truck Simulator. There are
Next time.
really great memes on Instagram where people play this, but this is for another time. We have a very small and simple gift for you, and once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you too. It was a pleasure, and I hope we'll have another episode in the future.
Of course.
during that time, stay out of the box, stay out of your comfort zone, and yeah.
Yeah, and be curious, be proactive. Write in the comments what you liked about this episode. If you have other questions that you would like us to cover with Pesho, so we gather material and invite him for another round. And until then,
See you next time. Like and subscribe, please.
Thank you.